It's all feeling a little magical, right? Well, how is this being configured? Can we figure this out? Well, since you asked, suppose that we can clear up any doubts. Run the schematic. It feels so automatic, but in fact it's quite pragmatic. Update files, create some static, and there you go. Hit some goals. Your new wishes are command. When you use the right command, your app's abilities expand. NGSW config.json. Yeah, configure your service worker, and then it's like, now I get it. That's back to the cache. Update prefetching by providing the right path. Yeah, and you could be quite specific. If a file is not loading, add an entry so we don't miss it. And there you have it. Now you know it works offline. Oh yeah, let's go. And if you configure things right, then your users may never know. So it's not actually...
Hello. Welcome to NG-conf TLDR. Time to wind down, recap, win some prizes, and hang out with me and my beautiful co-host, Carl. So,
why, thank you. I am extremely vain, so any and all comments are welcome.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna chit chat for a couple minutes while people stream in. I know there is now a delay because of commercials. What is that called? It's not called commercials. Ads,
right?
Oh wait, now
internet commercials.
Oh, so okay. First impressions of the final day of NG-conf. Go. Just like the
first
whole
impressions. Day. Wowza! I loved it all, but it was very. I guess one good word to sum it all up was reactive. I think that's a good word, since a lot of RxJS today. Which is very interesting, of course, if you're into RxJS, which I think a lot of people are. So some cool stuff in there for sure.
And, I know we'll cover it in a minute, but even there was a reactive and animations talk. So even if you're not into the reactive side of life, it was really cool to see some things that came up today.
Yeah, between the animation and then the music being generated with RxJS, now I'm just thinking of other ways I can use RxJS to create some essentially non-software stuff, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we can just get into it. Carl, will you share the link in the chat if it's not already in there? Actually, I have it right here. To win prizes. So if you have not filled out the form on that page, that is your way to win prizes from us. So yes, fill that out. And let's see. These are...
Yeah, and by the way, we're not selecting a winner live, so we'll be doing that afterwards. So you might be, if you win, maybe not today, maybe over the weekend, probably like Monday-ish, you'll get an email from us.
And we'll email you, and then I'll make sure and tweet it out as well. So you all know who the winners were. But yeah, so let's get to it, to the juicy bits. NG-conf TLDR. So the day 2 keynote, and is this a usual pattern of like sharing the keynote with multiple speakers? Is that a thing?
I believe
it's just an NG-conf thing.
Yeah, that's a great question. Generally, I think a lot of conferences I go to, there's just one person. So it is cool to see kind of this collection of people talking about a common topic, of course, but still sharing some of the stage there with the keynote.
Bill Odom is in the chat saying, "I won an iPad already, so I feel bad filling it out again."
Oh,
you do it. You fill it out. You got this. Yeah. No, Boomwave said it was a set of keys. Definitely, that's definitely it. So the first person that was up to bat was Ben Lesh, and I liked the pairing today on the keynote. So we had Ben Lesh open it up with RxJS updates, and then after that, I'll show the slide for NGRX updates. And I got I had a little bit of this. I stayed up late, like creating some of the slides, so I was able to like fill in a bit of extra detail today. So I grabbed any comments that I thought were super fun in relation to that talk to kind of give you a little bit of a highlight of what was going on in the chat. And so Laura Newsom at the time said, "I'm digging the tell-all dirty laundry list from the RxJS team of issues they're aware of and have fixed." And that is how it felt in the very beginning. It was very like, Ben going through, hey, in V6, there were these things, or, we had a lot of people fill out bugs about this specific feature, and they weren't actually bugs. They were just using the feature wrong, which means the feature wasn't created properly. And so it was really cool to have. It was very candid. So if you are into RxJS and you're like, I want to know more, definitely check out that talk. I heard the chatter today. People were asking about how long recordings were going to be available, what recordings were available. All I know is that Joe Eames told me for about 2 weeks, everything that was live on the main stage will be available in the Vito app. So VITO. So yes, so go check that out. I'm going to go ahead and toggle to the next one, which was on the part 2 of the keynote, I guess, which was done by Brandon Roberts and Mike Ryan on NGRX. And I like plopped this in front of their link, so I can totally get that link for you. But I loved I loved the talk. There was a ton of, oh yeah, absolutely. We're getting some thanks in the chat. Thank you for creating the TLDR slides. So, oh wow, Sound Man OK said for about 3 months was the last I heard. That's a long time to hang out on Vito. I don't usually they do like where they like do a slow release of content like after NG-conf, where it's like, here's these 3 talks this week, or here's this one talk. So I don't know how it's going to be sprinkled out across the YouTubes, but yes, anyways, back to NGRX. Let's see what.
Yeah, 1 in 6 apps, by the way, is a crazy statistic for any library. I mean, maybe there are some other libraries out there, like LeftPad, for example, that get some crazy usage numbers. But if you think about that, like out of all the Angular apps, there's 1 in 6, and then seeing even some evidence around Google having high numbers in that, that's a lot of praise for sure.
Very, very much so. I think I was going to see if that was the only comment I had. It was. Was there anything else in GRXE that you want to talk about? Or
no, that for anybody looking for the TLDR of the session, if you're interested in what's coming out with RxJS 7 and beyond, and also there's a conference which was called RxJS Live, I believe. That was a simple, easy name.
Which I guess is the same group of organizers.
Yeah. So if you're really into RxJS and NG-RX, then check that out for sure.
Yeah. Next up was Hussein and Minko, and I was really excited about this one just because anytime someone mentions contentful paint, my ears like perk up. I don't know why. That's like the buzzword for me that I'm like, what'd you say? And so they talked about core web vitals, and they explored some optimizations that Angular does under the hood to improve your core web vital metrics. And so they talk about what core web vitals are. And I thought it was really interesting at near the end of the talk how Minko he covered like font styling and inlining and how that works with the actual build process. And so it definitely was very high level, and then it dove deep. So that was a really good talk.
Super neat, like behind the scenes look at how Angular does stuff for us already, right? So maybe not necessarily, use all these techniques, right? But it was really, I think it's really nice to see what goes on under the hood. Like, for example, the critters tool that Minko was talking about, where it essentially helps optimize the initial, like only critical CSS that you need in the app to begin with. Like that's part of the first payload, and then they lazy load the rest. And Angular's taking care of that for you out of the box. It's kind of crazy to think about. So that's definitely a cool talk to see if you're just interested in how some of these things happen behind the scenes, so to say.
And Kevin asked if I'm the only live viewer here. No, Kevin, you are not alone. We have many people with us. We are just spread across 3 different streams. I chose to go live on Twitch, YouTube, and there's a third one that I'm not even Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So, yes. So,
I'm live in 3 places.
Yes.
Did not sign off for that. It's not in my contract.
To our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/codeit live if you want to see more peeps and more chat, because I think the chat on the other 2 are quieter. So, the next up was a 5-minute talk by Mike Brocky, my good friend who I do a podcast with every week, and he's amazing. It was called Scully Bo Bully Banana Fana. Boy, I can't even. I just totally lost it, Carl.
I almost had it earlier today. I was saying it out loud, and I was the only one home. So luckily that was it, because I said it multiple times.
But it was a very brief talk, but Mike goes over a Scully where it has been and where it's going. And so check it out if you are interested in Scully and you think, ooh, is it for me? Is it for this project? It was very short and very bite-sized. So
Yeah, but still good. And if you're not familiar with Scully, I think the quick thing is it's a static site generator for Angular. So you see that in a lot of different technologies. Angular is, of course, what we're talking about here today. So Scully, there we go.
Pale Girl 3. I've already rewatched Mark's presentation twice, right? I totally I can't and like during I literally it's like I don't know why, but I just have to start moving anytime they'd play it in between talks, but it was so good. And then JV and Allen, maybe, or I could probably butcher that. Sorry about that. Twitch is definitely the fun place to be. So next up, wasn't the next talk, but it was just a little bit of info that I had. So if you have access to Veto and the conference, when you sign in, if you go to, there's 2 spots to go to. There's like the hallway track, and that's where you should be able to find the lightning talk recordings. And then of course the videos page, but I don't know if the lightning talks, last I checked, the lightning talk, Carl, were you able to see them after the fact? I was not able to, so they might not be up yet, but Joe did say they will be available for a couple weeks, so keep checking.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to double check that today, but if it's going to be there, hopefully maybe even over the weekend, but they'll be up there fairly soon.
Thank you, Wolf. I'm actually going to go back to that slide. Biggest announcement around Scully was integrating with the Angular Universal Server. Huge improvement on build time. Beautiful. Thank you. And if you have any favorites of like what your favorite announcement was, what your favorite talk was, there's no way me and Carl could cover it all. So please shout it out in the chat. And then Bill is saying that the lightning talks were in the video areas as a single video. Awesome. So, speaking of that's so helpful, Bill, because Dave, I'm going to mispronounce it, Shevitz from the Angular team, he pinged me on Slack and was like, hey, did you see my lightning talk? And I was like, oh my God, I was so busy. But it's apparently called at reviewed, be elated, a way to keep content updated. So I have a feeling there was some rhymes dropped, maybe a song. I don't know. But like literally after we sign off, I have to go and find that video. So thank you, Bill. That's really helpful. But yes, so we talked about accessing content. Next was Jennifer Wadzella. Love her. We used to be Kansas City buddies. I know, like, I just recently moved. I don't know where she's at in the world right now, because I know she's in Europe. But she did a talk on choose your own form adventure. And Carl, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to do a top 3 today, Jennifer's talk was definitely in it. If for nothing else, just the chat, like it blew up. It was scrolls and scrolls of like comments, and I love this, and oh my goodness. And so it was about reactive versus template driven, but the way that she walked through it was so eloquent. And it was a really cool example that kind of, I don't know, it walked through like first reactive and then template driven.
Yep.
So
and as a fairy tale too. So the narrative was super great. Like even if she had just done, let's call it a traditional talk, right? Of I'm going to do this and live code it all, right? It was a great way to step through it, but it was a fun twist to make it like a fairy tale about a princess, deciding to enter kingdom and all of that stuff, right? So definitely an entertaining talk for sure, both for the actual content and the way it was presented.
Yeah, see, chat is agreeing. Very amazing talk. Wolf was saying, did you catch the band/song pun t-shirt references?
Oh, I didn't get that at all day until the Metallica shirt came up. And I was like, wait, hold up. And then I just started realizing how, and this is really, unless it's a metal band, I'm not going to understand any references. So, anything other than up until Metallica, kind of, I was like, wait, it went all over my head. And then during the rest of the day, I was like, nope, I understand this. So
you're referring to Frosty, right? His shirts, or were you talking about?
So Frosty had shirts on all day. He was switching between, but whenever anybody else was on stream, they also had a band shirt on, and then they were talking back and forth. Like everything they said had puns that were
related to that shirt.
Yeah.
I did not even put that together. Apparently, Alan didn't either in the chat, so I'm not alone. But that's awesome.
it was halfway through the day when I was like, wait, how many Metallica songs did he manage to squeeze in there? And then, that's when I finally discovered what was going
Oh
on.
my
So
gosh.
an
Oh,
entire day worth of it.
this was one of the examples. Like the chat blew up of just like how many, like Eric was going on about just how amazing this was in regards to I'm going to read his comment. I don't think reactive forms has ever been taught so simply. People get so worried about whether or not new developers will be able to understand patterns or not. Let's continue innovating and build better ways reactive forms while teaching them more and more simply. And then just a slew of positive feedback that you can read as well. But I don't know, it was great. It was definitely the top 3 if you only have like a brief window of time. To go check out the forum talk.
Yeah,
And
we all build
then
forms, no matter what kind of applications we're building. So there'll be something useful in this talk, no matter where you're at with your form building, for sure.
Next was Nicole Oliver and Zach DeRose, BFFs, reactive code and animations, which I hinted at this earlier. And so they joined forces to live code some handy examples of combining reactive programming techniques along with Angular animations. And so this is actually one of the only talks that I was able to grab a clip from. And so I can play that in a second, but I didn't know, Carl, before that, if you had anything you wanted to say.
I thought this talk was really cool because it has reactive code and animations in the title, right? And essentially, they structure the talk in such a way that you saw some of the reactive code to begin with, and then you saw some of the animations, and then they came together. And I'm sure they did this on purpose, right? But essentially, between the way that they presented the content, the title, and then the way the two presenters were working together, it kind of all overlapped with each other, right? Like when they came together with reactive code and animations, they were both on the screen talking and everything like that. So I just felt it was well thought out from even just a presentation layout kind of way.
Absolutely. And I want to see. Oh yeah. So this is the clip part that I wanted to bring up was boop boop boop. Where do Angular animations shine? And I thought it was really cool because it's kind of a question I've been asking myself, and then she asks it out loud of basically what is the point of Angular animations? When do you use them? And so I have a small clip where she introduces that and then talks a little bit about one example, but she goes into many. And so definitely check out this talk. It's going to be in my top 3 as well. So let me go roll the clip.
So where does Angular animations shine when it comes to like all the different options that are available for creating animations? Angular animations is not like libraries like GreenSock or D3, where you're able to create very complex animation sequences. Instead, with Angular animations, usually what we're doing is defining transitions between states. And this is something that's actually really easy and elegant to do with CSS animations and transitions. But there are a couple places where Angular animations really outshine CSS animations. So let's take a look at some of those. One of them is when you're staggering items. So in this case, we have a series of items that are coming onto the screen, and we want to add a little bit of a delay in between each one as they enter and leave. With CSS, this would be quite a bit of code. You would be generating a lot of classes. But here, we can do it really easily with Angular animations.
So yes, that was, I love what Bill said in the chat. My answer to where do Angular animations shine? Route transitions. Beautiful. That's a great summary as well. So yeah, I definitely check out the talk. She goes into more examples. And then before that, Zach is doing his thing, and it's beautiful, and people were going crazy about the visuals in their slides. So.
Yeah, it helped so much, and I think that's as important when you're starting to think about, well, animations to begin with, right? They have frames, but whenever you can visually lay something out as complex as anything related to reactive code can be, right? I think it definitely helps bring everybody into the same level, which was cool to see in the slides.
Absolutely. Next up was Alan. Anyone? Shatard?
I miss how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even gonna try to butcher it.
I know him from the community, and I just hate that I don't know how to say his last name. So I'm gonna actually reach out to him later because, or Google might know. But this was another 5-minute talk that was sprinkled throughout the longer ones, and it showcases a lesser known TypeScript tips and tricks. And so check it out. I think yeah, it was just 5, but in his Q&A, it was funny. Someone was like, if you had to name a 6th,
Yeah.
what would it be?
And
what
maybe
would it
extend
be?
it to 10, yeah.
Bill said, Carl reminded me, love to see animation frames show up in RxJS7. Yeah, I think I think I had.
Yeah, did
I
you
might
have
go in
that in
yeah, there it is. Where it listed it out, and I might have covered it. Oh no, animation frames is on there. So
Yep.
there was a lot on this slide, but yes, the animation frames. There was a couple people in chat who were like, yes. So let's see. Next up was Yoast and Alex from the Angular team, I believe. And of course, interrupt me if I forgot anyone today, but I think this was the next one.
Yeah.
The dance of decorated classes inside the Angular compiler. And so this one was a talk where they examine the design of the Angular compiler and explore the many ways to support our tooling today. And they took a peek at the new Angular linker system for library compilation and consumption. So I actually was on a podcast for this one, unfortunately. So I did not get to see it. And I think there was one following it that I missed. So do you have any juicy notes or tidbits?
Yeah, so for me, this is yet another one of those talks where getting to understand the tooling that we're using, just getting some peeks into it without having to dive into the source code and understand it ourselves. I think this is a great talk just to get an understanding of really how the Angular compiler works. Just because, without the full context of the talk, it might be a little bit complicated to get into it, and they're doing a far better job explaining it than I ever could. So definitely recommend checking this out if you have some time, just to get kind of a better understanding of the tooling that we use without necessarily having to go all in and start going line by line through the source code and understand it.
Yes, absolutely. I think next or maybe after the next one, I sprinkled this one in as well, was the Among Us game near the lunch break and the lightning talks. And that was my first time playing Among Us, and I was really bad at it, but apparently not as bad as Ben. I don't know. That was really interesting. Ben Lesh, I guess, has this thing where he can't lie. So when accused of being the imposter, he was like, yeah, I'm just going to vote for myself, like every time. And I was just like, he was like, okay. But no, it was very cool. It was a lot of fun. And there was a bunch of different breakout sessions where everyone was playing their own game. So shout out in the chat if you were there, if you played a game. But next was Deborah Kurata, 4 wicked RxJS pipelines for the real world. And did she have a shirt on? Do you remember? Like that was like with Punny with the
No, but she did start off dressed as the Wicked Witch. So she did have hat and everything on, and she did a voice. So she was 100% into the Wicked theme at that point. That was great.
Beautiful. She's incredible, and I feel like it wouldn't be NG-conf without her. So
yeah,
it was so good to see her on stage.
What I really liked about this, by the way, is that yes, she's listing like 4, so that you're going to come out with 4 tips and tricks or 4 examples so you can follow, right? But what I really liked about it was that every time she set something up, she was breaking it down and saying, what do we have, what do we want, when do we want it, which I think helps a lot when doing reactive development. So just having that be broken down for each one of these examples, I think kind of reiterates a good thinking pattern that can help, again, anybody that's new or anybody that might just be copying and pasting samples and, just trying to then figure out, okay, now that I have this copy and paste stuff going on, what is actually happening, right? So great talk for sure about just some cool things you can do with RxJS.
Absolutely. I think I saw her. I think she had a slide at the end where it was like listing out like basically her resources of like, here's all the books and the courses. And I'm just like, wow, it's just, it's incredible and it's overwhelming, but she's such a good teacher. So I'm so glad that she's providing all of that for the Angular community.
Yeah, she actually, her course on Pluralsight was how I learned Angular 2 when I was picking up Angular 2 coming from AngularJS. Yeah. So, definitely appreciate any and all resources she puts out.
Yeah. So Alan was saying, it seems like yesterday was heavy on micro front ends and today is heavy on RxJS. Was that just me? No, that was not just you. And I think it was intentional. I think it's very much like these are two. I was actually thinking about that yesterday when micro front ends were like one after the other. And I was thinking about how like telling of the technology and where Angular is at and where JavaScript is at is going to be whenever we look back like 20 years from now and we're like, that was the theme for this year, right? That was the big deal. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see like where we go from here. But yes, definitely themes for today and yesterday.
Yeah.
Next up was Amadou, I think that's how you say it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Tailwind talk. Beautiful. I was watching on my phone as I was walking the pupper. It was really good stuff. So it was so funny during the Q&A. I think it was the second one. There was some candid, I don't know if you were there for that, Carl, some candid opinions on whether or not Tailwind would last, whether or not it was useful. And it was really funny because I thought just because of the chatter that everyone would be pro Tailwind and that I would be alone in my camp of like, can't we just write our CSS? So for those of you who don't know, Tailwind is a way, it's basically a way to quickly write CSS. And I took a little screenshot of like that button with the class of BG Blue, text white, PX4, like that's what Tailwind is going to look like and what it's going to do for you. And so Bill is saying plus, you're not alone. Thanks, Bill. I don't know, like it's just so popular. They're like, whenever they were announcing support for Tailwind, I was like, why are we all yelling? Like, so I don't know. It was a great talk. And I know there are many developers where CSS is a scary thing for them. And that's why I love doing UI Fridays. That's why I love breaking down complex like animations or maybe even simple animations and teaching those to people. I did a workshop the week before NG-conf at NG-conf this year on UI and doing CSS from scratch. And we restyled the Tour of Heroes. And that was really, really fun. So for me, that's the side of life that I come from. But then like the entire world of NX is just like so over my head and I'm like a cower in fear. So I think there's two different types of developers and it's just where you lie and what resources and tools you need to get the job done. So. Yeah,
there's definitely a lot of tooling out there. And I flip-flop on Tailwind because there's sometimes when I look at this, I say, yeah, this is how when I was writing styling in web forms, how it ended up being a huge mess of classes within my application. But that's the way we're doing it. So it feels a little bit like everything that's old is new again. But that being said, there's a ton of good stuff in Tailwind, right? And I think for this talk specifically, what Amadou, I'm going to say that's how you pronounce it, and apologies if that's incorrect. What he did a great job doing was essentially he started from something fresh, right? And just built out something live using the classes available to him, kind of showcasing the power of Tailwind. And he also dove into comparing it to Bootstrap and everything else, right, that it has existed in that Bootstrap kind of world, and how those kind of design languages, what they do that might be a little bit different than Tailwind. And to be fair, he did also mention that a disclaimer that you might have to adjust to this. It might be an adjustment period, and I've seen that pop up. Some people say that just go through the painful part a little bit, and then eventually you'll love it. Which there are things in my life that I say, yeah, just once you get over the initial hump, then it's perfect. So who am I to judge if that's the right thing to do for CSS, right? But yeah, so if you're interested in at all, you've heard about Tailwind, it's super popular out there, right? So this comment they threw up here is great.
I'm sorry, I can't even.
There's a lot of pro pure CSS folks in the chat right now, and you're enabling them, Alyssa.
I love you all, whether or not you use Tailwind or Bootstrap or what have you. I honestly, I work for Kendo UI and I support component libraries, so I'm not opposed. Like, not everything has to be from scratch. I just prefer to roll it my own whenever it's something custom or I don't know, special and fun. But that's where I have fun, though. It doesn't stress me out to do it. So if it does stress you out, you should not feel bad.
Exactly. There's a lot to keep track of, right? And if you have something that's going to save you a lot of time, I say go for it. I think one of my favorite expressions that I've heard recently is different horses for different courses. I don't know if it's common everywhere, but
no,
Australians
that is not
say
saying you just made it up.
Australians say it all the time, and like to the point where I've only been there for 2 weeks total, and it got mentioned so many times that just permeated my brain now. So I'm gonna throw that out here. Different horses for different courses.
Different horses for different. Are you ready for this next slide? It's probably one of my favorites. And my mug here is like in support of cheddar. Oh my gosh. Anyone like that commercial? Someone up above said that they rewatched Mark's talk. I rewatched that commercial as much as I could. It cracked me up. I loved it. And if you did miss it, Jeff owns pigs. One's name is Cheddar, and he had this commercial called Pig Programming, and it was just absolutely amazing. Yeah. So I'm hoping the commercials get released in the wild so that you can take part and enjoy that. But I have no update in regards to commercials. So yes, Cheddar.
Cheddar was too cute.
Oh yeah, Soundman said Kendo UI plus Bootstrap plus custom CSS. Yeah, we're right. Me and you are pretty much in the same camp. Although years ago I had to throw out Bootstrap because of how aggressive it is. So I'm amazed that you can do the custom CSS alongside Bootstrap, because I was just like, I'm going to pull out all the hair and be bald and be a balded developer. It just was like, I couldn't do it. But someone said it's out on YouTube. So I can watch it all weekend long. I'm actually gonna show my baby. He's just turned 2 and he's all about like animals. So this is gonna be his gateway drug into programming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is it. Bait them with a cute little pig, and then they're programmers for life. That's an interesting path.
Oh, what was next? Maxwell Benedict. This was another 5-minute talk. And it always threw me off because usually they're clumped, and it wasn't. It was like, here's a 20-minute, here's a 5-minute, here's a 20-minute, 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 5-minute. And I was like, what's happening? But I guess if I just read the schedule, I wouldn't be taken aback. So he did a very quick 5-minute talk. But this was the one that Carl referenced at the beginning of creating a techno beat with RxJS. It was short and sweet, and a beat to go along with the knowledge that he dropped. But Carl, I know you wanted to say something about this, so I'm gonna let you.
Oh no. That's I also had, by the way, make a bass drop reference in my notes, so you already took care of that for me with the the knowledge drop.
I know. Not only was I learning about RxJS, but I was actually learning about like the history of techno.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I actually didn't know that drum machines, when they first were released, were a commercial failure, and it was because they were so cheap that people picked them up and were just playing around with them, and that's how techno was born. Had no idea. So yeah, this honestly probably is one of my top 5 talks of the entire conference, just because I didn't. When I saw the title, I was like, oh, somebody's going to make a bunch of techno references. And then I just realized, wait, he's writing music with RxJS? What? And then it just got the creative juices flowing. And now I'm wondering, what else can you do with RxJS and music or something else creative? Between this and the animations, now I feel like the challenge is just, how do you not build a form with RxJS, and how do you instead do something super creative with it?
No, this talk brought me back to the thought of, I was talking with Frosty about NG-conf and being in person, and this was like a couple months ago, and he was telling me about NG Enterprise, which is like the NG-conf spinoff, and So it's funny because these creative talks where you're using something in like a way that you would never have thought of before, or this like combination of powerful learning meets entertainment, is what NG-conf is all about. And so I both love NG-conf and I both love NG Enterprise, but I like that, I don't know, the two separate spaces have more room to expand and grow. So that's what Max's talk made me think of, really. So it was good stuff. I think, are we almost, we're coming to the end of the talks. Let's see, Angular. So I wanted, this wasn't a talk per se, but Frosty interviewed Cindy from the Angular team along with many other people throughout both days. And I don't know if there'll be single videos released or one whole video released, but they were really cool and they were very down to earth. And so I just wanted to mention that in our recap because it amazes me. And I don't, if you love React, I'm so sorry. It amazes me how transparent and like just community thinking the Angular team is. And that was very obvious with these interviews. Whereas like the React team, if you try to reach out with them or like see them at a conference, like their presence isn't the same as the Google teams with Angular. And so it makes our community all that much more special, I think. So
yeah, definitely. Also, apologies, you were in this deep thing and then my doorbell just rang. So hopefully that didn't come across too loud for everybody, but yeah, it's fine. I got help answering the door.
If you hear wailing in the background, my baby is trying to eat dinner, and I think maybe the dinner is not agreeable, or maybe it's not a
emphasis
cookie.
on trying.
Know, so.
Yeah.
So again, yes, same apologies for background noise on my end. Oh yeah, John Papa was next. Ugh, anytime that man gets on stage, I just shake my head and I say, Alyssa, you've got work to do as a speaker.
Hey, it's important to you always got to improve, right? So it's good to have somebody that you can look up to kind of work towards. It's also moving the bar, by the way, because I've followed John for some time, and his evolution of how to present has definitely helped out quite a bit with my way of presenting as well.
Yeah. So in this talk, he covered what you need HTTP for, if you need HTTP client at all, and how to utilize Angular's HTTP interceptors. That is such a hard word to say.
Yeah, say fast, right?
Really good tips for those interceptors, like order is important. And so, as usual, he gave a solid talk with tons of great info. And so that's one I will be watching a couple more times just to, I don't know what it is, but it's like, it's same with audiobooks like that I listen to for fun. Second or third like listen to, I always am like, where was that the first time around? So I don't know if you learn like that, but that's definitely me. There's always like holes for me that get filled in as I recolor. So yes, I look forward to rewatching his data flow with interceptor stock.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I just noticed we have a spam bot in the chat. I don't know what to do about that. Yeah.
I really here. I'll deal with it.
Deal with it.
Deal
with it. I wanted to call it out so nobody clicks on the .ru link that somebody posted. Shame on that bot. Shame on the bot. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Phil.
I live fairly close to Boston Dynamics, so I can't yell too much about our robot overlords because I'm going to be the first one that goes when Skynet gets launched. But still, shame on that robot. But I think what was really cool about this talk, because how often do you just say, "Oh, I'm just going to grab something from the server"? I'm doing a GET request, or like I'm doing the put, whatever it might be, and you might not necessarily think of, well, what are some of the stages and what are some good things that I can do in each one of those stages. So this talk kind of breaking things down and saying, okay, so when you go to the server, these are the points you can intercept, and these are where it makes sense, and then back. You continue, to see, okay, when the request comes back, what can I do and what makes sense, right? And this slide you have up here is great. It's just some of the things you can do. And then John continues to go through and mention specifically, each one of the interceptors and what you can do there.
Yeah. Wolf said, Igor mentioned in the chat that if you don't use HTTP client, then it gets tree shaken. I didn't see that in the chat.
No, I didn't see that either, but that's great to know. Tree shaking is, of course, important given how much you get out of the box with Angular. So it's nice to see that gets tree shaken.
This next one with Jan Niklaus.
Great screen grab.
With the is it a mask? I was like he was talking and it looked realistic and I was very confused. Was it him?
I think it might be a filter. At this point, everything's a deep fake. So unless I see the person in real life, it's just computer generated. I don't even know if you're real, Alyssa. I could be yelling about that robots.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And here you are, the stream robot that just took all the Alyssa's information and generated itself. But I think it was a filter.
Okay, thank you for answering that because I was like, is that him? Is that not him?
The lips were moving, so if it's a mask, it's a really good one. Yeah.
But yes, he went into things like using catch. Should you use catch error on an inner observable? Do you know why take until should usually be placed as the last operator? And there were like a ton of other really cool things. RxJSE, that's totally a saying. But it was also very Titanic-y as well. So
yeah.
I like that. Did he have a Titanic shirt on?
No, I don't think so. But everything else was
everyone's making me think there's like something conspiracy with t-shirts now.
It's just Frosty and everybody in the studio that was rocking the
yeah. Nullflex said great production value on this one. Totally.
Yeah. I mean, the intro definitely, if you haven't watched the Titanic, you probably didn't get it, but it followed the Titanic, minus the 3 hours and Leonardo DiCaprio on a what's it called? A door is what he's holding onto. Minus that, it follows it.
Slow the credits down though.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of credits. Yeah.
Let's see. I have there's one last one before it was this one by Eric Slack, and I removed his avatar photo that he had submitted, and so because I stole all of their avatar images off of the Veto website, but it was like staring me down and I was scared and it was like, why you take such an angry photo, Eric? So I've got to reach out and talk to him about that because it's on Twitter too. So I'm like,
yeah, be nicer in your image, Eric. Come on.
Oh no, he did this was a quick one as well. They ended it with a 5-minute one. And it was just going over the benefits to use headless CMS. And then they went right into the Q&A where he was there as well and answered a couple questions. So
if you're ever just curious, like what is a headless CMS and why would I ever use one, this is just a good 5-minute primer because he was acting it out a lot, which I think helps just see some common scenarios that you probably run into every day where a headless CMS can work wonders.
Yeah, no, Boomwave, he is a great guy. And like even seeing his like talk, you're like, oh, he's so like, it was a wonderful talk. I think it was his first time on, I don't know if any stage or just NG-conf stage. So he did a great job.
Yeah, and he was live yesterday, right? He was in the studio, I think, announcing, or am I confusing people now?
Was he? Mm-hmm. I totally did not put the two and two together. That's awesome. So, but yes, check out Eric's talk on headless CMS and why you need them. And now I'm trying. No, listen, Bill, listen. I know you're probably making fun of me because I'm a wimp and I can't handle people staring at me with their eyes. I don't know. It was just something. It was
staring at me with their eyes. Alyssa, what else are they going to be looking at you when they're trying to make
souls.
Eye contact? Their souls. I do forget that whenever we meet, you say dark room and we're just going to connect on the soul level and that's it. Yeah. Just separate corners and then our souls will eventually figure out how to communicate.
Have you heard of that restaurant or was that just in like a sci-fi book where you like, no, I think it's a real restaurant where you eat in the dark?
Yes. By the way, the next time we're in Sofia, Bulgaria together, there is one of those in Sofia, Bulgaria. So when we're visiting headquarters there, we can definitely go there. I haven't been there. I know a couple of our colleagues that have, but I'll
always
go.
wanted to eat
I'll
dinner
go
in
for the
dark.
Experience. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So apparently he hosts Utah Meetup once a
Yes,
month.
and now the Angular meetup. So that's what they were talking about yesterday. Thank you, chat, for helping confirm that I wasn't going crazy and it was the same person. But he did mention bringing Angular meetup to be more global than just necessarily something local. So a ton of cool stuff from the first day was announced. But he did a great job to the point whenever his phone went off in the commercial, I went for my phone because I thought it was going off. And I was like, wait, I thought I set it to vibrate, which it is in 99.99% of the time. But yeah, it got me every time.
Oh, so that was the closing. And then they also did, I was reading Boomwave. You ate in one once? Easy to steal food off of your one.
I would just knock everything over.
I'm
I don't
literally just
understand.
more concerned about the heart attack that will ensue every time the server approaches the table and I'm unawares. And so then they start speaking and I just jump out of the seat, right? So that's more of the...
What's really cool, by the way,
bells or something like
right. I think they must have something to not scare us. But what is cool about the one in Sofia specifically, by the way, is that they hire a lot of blind people who are already experts at, of course, navigating like that. So it also is a great cause as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would probably spill my drink all the time. I don't understand how that doesn't happen. I walk into stuff, I spill stuff all the time. I gesticulate too much, so you can't have enough stuff in the way. So yeah, I'd probably just make a mess.
But that was it. Besides the Q&A, which was also good. But here is the link for prizes. I'll just say we'll announce them Monday. Because Alan was asking if we need a mod. I'll usually have a couple of mods, but because it's so late, we didn't want them to have to stay on because they're in Bulgaria. So it's even.
Yeah. Oh, we took care of it though. Just the one bot, just the one. We're
thank God. If we had 100 bots, I'd be like,
I know exactly. Yeah. We're low key famous. We get one bot, but it's not 100 bots. We're not Apple live streaming our iMac announcement up here.
So I will so make you a mod. I'm adding that to my to-do list tonight. So. But this was so wonderful. Please fill out the form if you haven't already. We're giving away prizes, and who doesn't like prizes? And that's right. I think that's all I have to plug, other than thank you for showing up not only to this stream, but just to NG-conf. I saw it in the chat earlier. I like Angular. I love the community. I think that was Bill. This community is so special to me, and I just really cannot imagine ever finding a home like this in another one. So thanks for being the amazing, incredible developers that you are and making this community the wonderful place that it is. So that's my sign off.
It's a good sign off. I can't top that. So I'm just going to +1. And then we'll just have your outro as like the clip that like emphasizes everything here.
I will tweet-a-leet. I'll tweet-a-leet the slides for anybody else who wants those to see the recap slides. But that's all. Have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, whatever it is for you. And I'll see you online.
Bye everybody.